of Joy of the Garden and Home for another chat with you here in winter 2025.
I don't think it's so. No, it's not.
So it's Lunar New Year, a school holiday, one of many, but that's for another time. So before we begin on my subject for today, which is why do you garden, let's get some housekeeping stuff out of the way. This week this week or last week I ordered something and it came in, so I just want to share that with you. So this is burlap sack. So in my efforts to be less plastic dependent, and since grow bags also have plastics in them, I went to the burlap route because the hemp, I think this is jute. I'm not really sure what these materials are out of, but this is called burlap. It's like a potato sack. They use it for jumping races. And it's generally, let's see, the size of it is about 4 feet tall. 3 feet tall by maybe almost 2 feet wide. So it's a good size. But obviously you're not gonna garden in something this tall. Plus, it's pretty see-through if you can't tell. So my idea was to double it up, because that's really the size I would need. Like I'm thinking of growing potatoes in these, so that's what I'm gonna do. So double it up, and that will help with the losing soil through the holes. And then that gives you what looks to me like a 20-gallon pouch, like the same size as maybe 15. I feel like it's at least you could put 20 gallons of soil in here. Gallons is not the right measure, I know, but that's how I figured it. But it looks like that. The grow bags are like 20 gallons. That's what this looks like to me. So that's what I'm going to be using this for. Oh, but it's super dusty, not for indoor purposes. And then in the indoor house plant, not house plant, but indoor house, this plant, my pepper, my lone pepper that has survived overwintering thus far is my jalapeno. It's doing really well. It's just an east-facing window. I somehow managed to water this consistently enough. It's super warm here, especially like days like today where we have the fire going. This is like an upper space, so the heat really gets trapped. So it's really hot. The issue that I'm having, which I knew was going to be an issue, is that it's this big and it's too soon. And also it's flowering. It's got little flower babies coming out of there all over. So what I'm going to be doing after this is plucking out all the flowers. And then I was also thinking it doesn't need to be this tall right now. So maybe I trim it, but I'm just so it's just doing so well. I don't want to trim it, but I think I should trim it. I don't know. Anybody have any opinions on that? I guess I'll give it another week and see how I feel about it then. But I do want to get all these little flower buds off of here because they don't need to be fruiting. They just need to concentrate on growing roots and foliage and not on giving me peppers just yet. As nice as that might be, it's not ideal. This is only 4 inches of soil maybe. So that is a project for later. All right. Now, today's agenda is, so yesterday, after breakfast-ish, I was like, I don't have a subject matter for tomorrow's live. And it didn't take me long to come up with this, but then it didn't really take me long to research it either. So what I have written down is, stuff I've heard here and there and everywhere in the last 5+ years that I've been gardening. And so it's just like almost like a Christmas list that I had over at Christmas time. It's just like a lot of stuff, nothing really diving into any particular subject. But I would like to, like, this is almost like the part one, and then next week will be a part two of just food and food, discussing our food and where it comes from, where it's going, you know, as general subject. So I say, why do you garden? Not farming. Farming is its own thing, and not everybody, and less people are farming, but more and more people are gardening. And I think that's great. I think we should have more smaller farmers per se, more control of the individual versus a whole bunch of different giant corporations controlling everybody's food. And then you have, you know, more local sources and healthier options. Just better in general. Obviously, with that, you'll have also limited choices because what you can grow in the north during this time of year is very limited. And so you will have to, that's why we import stuff from other parts of the world. I get it. But it would be nice if there were more smaller farming gardens, sharing, bartering, selling than the system we currently have. All right, so there's huge benefits to farming, right? I mean, gardening. I've broken it up in threes because 3 is the magic number. All right, so my first part is control. We have control over what we're growing it in, and how we're consuming what we're growing. There's hopefully less pesticides and herbicides, hopefully less plastics. Hopefully we're growing in well-made compost, homemade compost, using our animals to complete that cycle with we feed them, they feed us kind of thing. And what else? Yeah. And then there's more control. You have, no, I said that. I'm really having a hard time with this one. There's the, whatchamacallit? New foods. You have so many more options for what you can grow. The seeds or the plants if you choose to buy it from outside, but mainly the seeds. You have so many more seeds. Now granted, it's not going to be native or local and all that, but still, you now have that option when you're doing it yourself to have those foods, and part of it will be cheaper for you. Like herbs. Herbs is the number one thing that we should all be growing no matter what, because those are expensive at the supermarkets, but they're super cheap to grow and super easy, and you can even just use a windowsill to grow herbs. So, and even like basil, let's say. You can get rooted basil at the supermarket. They come in the cups. You can regrow those. I've successfully done that. And you can even, you know, if you buy them in the spring, you can plant them outside in the summer, and they keep going. And then you can take cuttings in the fall, bring them back inside, and that cycle could keep going over and over and over. And you've only invested in one plug or plant. But that's one of those things you could be doing. And then there's ways you can garden. There's indoors, like potted plants on a windowsill. There's hydroponics using water. There's aquaponics using fish. There's also it's new, but they are trying to make it so that you can grow in a soil medium. So it's like a hybrid of soil and hydro, but it is indoors. Hi, Crash Out. Herbs for cooking and teas. Yes, those are definitely good things for indoors and small pots. Yeah, so you have all these options to grow inside all year round. If you have an inside green space, sunroom type area, you can start inside, bring it outside. You can start outside, bring it inside. There's so many options. Sky's the limit. Just a matter of, you know, how much dedication you want to and effort you want to put into it. All right, the second part is money. There is money to be made. Like I said, farming, is big money, but when it dwindles down to the real to the reality of it, it's not that much money. But there's money in it for gardeners. Whether you're a flower gardener, you don't need a large plot to be a successful flower gardener. There's somebody in New Jersey. Her name's Jessie. I can't remember her channel name, but she doesn't have she has a nice little plot that she made. She made sure it was deer protected, and she was doing co-ops. She was doing pick them up at her house, or she would drop them off at someone else's house. And then she finally found a storefront, and it wasn't like a big chain. It was like a mom and pop shop, and she's doing really well with just that one. And now she has all these, issues with her family, her child. So she has to, now she's relying solely on that pop-up shop, the little mom and pop shop as her, it's not her main income, it's a subsidy, but it's bringing in enough that she feels good with investing the little time she has into her garden. And now she's in it for 3 years. She's established her perennials. She knows which annuals are going to work well for her. So they come up quick, and she knows she can time that. So it works with her schedule. Crash Out says, get clients to do their garden for them. Right, landscaping stuff. Nope, there's an ad up here. So yeah. So for me, I sell my seedlings in the spring. So I grow, and I don't grow that much. And yeah, you have to figure out your break even point of how many to grow versus how much you can charge. And I know I undercharge. Most beginners are always undercharging because you're just like, oh, I don't know anything, blah, blah, blah. So we usually undercharge. But I think my first year was, I grew like a ton of stuff. And I think that was my most profitable year. And I also, I think, charged a little bit better. And then for some reason, my second year, I got all I'm going to give you a discount on this and discount on that. So I didn't. And then last year, I didn't even calculate last year's yet. Probably broke even. But, you learn those from every year and you scale as you need to. And yeah, so that's one way. And I like doing it. So I'm going to keep doing it, even if it's a net loss for me. You can also sell the produce once it's come to maturity. You can take it to a farmer's market. Yeah, I think farmer's market is the best bet. Maybe if you had a church thing or different. I haven't gotten into this arena, so I don't know what avenues people have. But if you know a supermarket, I guess, a small supermarket, you could probably work something out with them. There's probably some government stuff you might have to maneuver, but I don't think it's that hard. I guess it also varies by state. Some states are not that crazy about these things. Others need more. You got to pay them up. But you can sell your produce once you've gotten that. And also what Crash Out is getting at is your experience. You have knowledge, after a few years of trial and error that is valuable to someone. You can sell what you know, either through, on social media, church. There's a community hall that I do my seedling sale at, that they have classes, and you could set up something with them. Schools even. My kids' school, I know the teachers have, things for gardening, but some other schools don't. And they would love for somebody, even if it's just a show and tell for kids. It's just a show and tell. You come in with a few plants. You might not get paid for this. Some of this is voluntary, but there are places where you charge a few dollars and share your knowledge. Oh, and there's also let's say there's a club, some kind of mom. I'm picking on moms. There's some kind of group of moms that get together and they want to do stuff, and then they can pay you to come in and teach them to do stuff like the landscaping and stuff. I'm thinking of offering some kind of service to the community space we have of winter sowing, that I would bring in 5 to 10 people, charge them a fee for like soil and a few little things and contribute to the community. And I would just, give them a little show and tell of how winter sewing works. So I don't expect to be paid for that, but once I get the presents and people know me, then yeah, in the future I might want to be compensated. Get a pre-order from clients, ask them what they want it for, juicing or eating. Oh, okay. So that's interesting. So if you're not dealing with the public, if you're dealing, person to person, you could, ask them for a product, how they want their product. And yeah, like some people don't have that space to grow. So if you grow it for them and process it for them, that is definitely a great moneymaker. Great idea. Let's see. Oh, and that was my next point also. You make foodstuffs. You grow your garden. You have an abundance of stuff. You create the final product. I wrote down like kimchi. People like kimchi. We like kimchi, but we can only get it at the store right now because I don't grow enough cabbage. I have a hard time growing cabbage. There's a lot of pest pressure for that kind of vegetable here, and I don't have the infrastructure to protect it all. So kimchi is something that if somebody I knew was making it and they had extra, I would totally buy from them, especially if they grew the plant themselves. You could do ferments. Lots of people do like hot sauce. I've made hot sauce and it's fantastic. You can't go wrong with ferments. Well, you can, but there's very little chance that you're gonna get sick because of all the beneficial bacteria that's fighting the bad bacteria. So you won't, get botulism or something. Herbs. If you have an abundance of herbs and you dry them up, you can make spice mixes for people, or straight mixes, and you could, sell them those dry things in either satchels or bottles if you want to go that route. So you could sell that. So and that you can sell on like Marketplace or something, or Facebook. Well, that's Marketplace. But other, social media sites that you could sell stuff. What's the other one? Craigslist. So that is as far as money. Let's see what else we got here. Share space and bring others in to cut the cost and show gardening and knitting or sewing. Okay, like other crafty stuff. So yeah, if you have a space in your property and you live in an area that's got a good amount of people that can come to your space, if you want to do a class at your space, show and tell at your space, have a little show garden, yeah, you could invite people either just to look at your landscaping, so then you can offer your services then, or you could do a class on, this is this plant and that plant and the other, and how you grow it, or you can do the vegetables. Same thing, bring people in and show them, this is a seed and this is a pot, and you plunk it in. So there's lots of ways. And then the main, and I think what most of us fall into as far as why we garden, is the therapeutic aspect of it. Vinegar and salts. Conger and salt? I don't know what conger is. Vinegar, yes, you can make vinegar. Most people don't know how easy it is to make vinegar. And it's not, cleaning. I mean, you could make cleaning vinegar, but you can take pretty much like the leftovers of a lot of things. Let's say apple cider. You take the apple peel, the apple core, the seed, the stalk. You take all that you didn't eat. You get a jar of it, half a jar. Then cover the rest with like water, clean water, and you just let it sit. You might have to stir it. There's different ways, but the easiest way, and I found it perfectly, safe. It's vinegar. Is you just stir it every day. You have to do this until, it could take 2 weeks, it could take longer, but you have to stir it every day and make sure you're submerging your whatever, the medium. So if it's in air, it's gonna get moldy. So you gotta make it submerge. At some point, it's gonna be so broken down that it'll just sink, and then it's just water on top, and you don't have to keep spinning it, mixing it. So by then, you just let it sit for another 2 weeks, month, however long you want. You can just sit there. and it's vinegar at that point. And then you sieve it out, take the big chunks out, compost it, and then what you got left is usable vinegar. As far as salts, salts obviously is a good preservative. So burying things in salt will usually give you a product that's preserved. Yeah, I haven't gone into that aspect of preparedness, so I'm not sure about that. But from what I've seen, like you can take your meats and just douse it in salt and you just let it sit there, I mean, it should be dry. I think that's part of it, and dry, and you inspect it every so often, but I think that's pretty much the gist of it. Seawater and let it sit, and now you have sea salt. Seawater and let it sit, and now you have sea salt. Ah, okay, yes, got it. So if you live by the coast, you have clean, I don't know how clean, yeah, you can make sea salt if you need it. That's a little more, yeah, only some of us have that access. Yeah. Oh, another money, for the money making part of this whole thing. If you have animals, if you have the chickens, you have the rabbits, you have the fish, you can sell their manure. You have to make it pretty, and however you think that is, and you got to bag it up. But yeah, people pay really good money for that. If you're into vermicomposting, which is worms, I know I saw on Facebook the other day somebody across the river from me having like either selling the worms itself, or he's going to sell you a whole like tub so you can get a starter kit pretty much, and you can go that route. So yeah, that's another way to make money on gardening and gardening adjacent situations, because when we garden, we start off with just a seed and soil, and then it grows and becomes a homestead, for lack of a better term. What do we got here? All right, so if you think of any other suggestions, ideas, drop them in the comments. We can pick it up again next week if there's enough there. Now, so the third part is the therapy, or the, I don't know, what's another word for it? Just like, it just makes you feel good, It just makes you feel good. So there's the getting outside aspect. You get the fresh air, you get the sun. I hope you get fresh air where you live. Some places are less fresh than others. But if you are surrounded by plants, you are more likely to have more fresh air than people who are just living in, the pavement city. Just like why we have houseplants, because we feel like they're giving us fresher environment. Right, and sunlight, vitamin D, you get touching the dirt, that gives you something. See, if I'd done my research, I would have known what the word is for that. When you touching dirt, there's something that either you not absorb, but there's some chemical reaction that makes you feel better. Just being outdoors, you got the birds and the bees and the butterflies, and the wind rustling through the leaves. That's all like very cathartic and makes you feel good, makes you feel alive, makes you part of the system. Then on the other side of that, those same birds and bees can be the bane of your garden and your existence, and you want to kill all the rabbits and the deer and all that. So gardening outdoors teaches you coping mechanisms, because when you're having an off week, month, year in gardening, you don't go out and take it all out. You just persevere, and you buck it up, and you keep going, I hope, and you just plan a little bit better, you put in a little bit more structure, but you keep going. Yes. Okay.
It's gonna fall out.
Not now. Then it's, for most of us, it's just a hobby to be in in this gardening space. We're not here for all that other grandiose stuff. But with hobbies, you like to perfect them. You like to you can experiment, and that's just fun. So like if you're an indoor grower and you figure out what can grow indoors, because they say, oh, you can only do this things indoors, but then you do your experiments and no, you can grow more indoors than they say. Now it might not yield what you can outdoors, but that doesn't mean you can't yield or you won't yield anything. Like a lot of people started growing or started their gardening journey with hydroponics because they have those little kits that fit on your little shelf on your kitchen sink. So now you are experimenting with hydroponics, and it's simple. You plug it in, you put water in, they give you the little cups, and off you go. Now aquaponics is a step up. You will need to have some kind of plants or fish living in this ecosystem that's also feeding the plants you want to eat. So if you start off with hydro and you bump up to aqua, you are learning and experimenting as you go. And yeah. And then you can also get creative, right? You're outdoors, you have a space, and how are you going to best utilize that space? If you're in the perfect area with the perfect leveled piece, with the perfect sun angle and the water and everything in place, then no animals. Nothing's eating your stuff. Then tell me where you live, because I'm coming over. But otherwise, most of us really do have to be creative, and it might take a few years to figure out, because the first year nothing is in your garden and you grow the perfect produce. But then the next year they all come and wipe you out. So you build those infrastructures, and then the following year something else comes along, and now you need to build extra structures. So the layout, you can be creative with how you lay out your beds. Trying to figure out angles and whatnot. Tree shade, you would have to know what vegetables and fruits grow in that area best. How are you irrigating these things? The rotation of plants. Once you've started growing, some pests and diseases like certain things. And if you keep growing in the same place, then the pests and disease are going to keep coming to the same place. So you're going to have to learn how to do some rotations. And then the structures, whether you have to net everything because there's birds galore, or fencing, obviously, or even underground fencing, because if you have voles and gophers, then you're going to need underground fencing. You need to get irrigations if it's far from your house. If you can't get just a hose, or you can't be carrying buckets of water, then maybe you have enough to do an actual irrigation system. And some of these are fun. Yes, it's all expensive, but a lot of it is just fun to figure out for some people, like the puzzle of it all, and pretty much like beating the system. If Mother Nature just wants to take all your plants and you're like having to do all these things to get ahead of her, then it kind of gives you some satisfaction when you do get a win here and there. Get a pencil and paper and make several notes on what you want to change in your garden, because as a gardener, plans change. Exactly. Always be taking notes through the season, especially in the off season. Now, try to remember, look back, and be like, what worked, what didn't work, which plant did I eat, which plant I didn't eat. And there are seasonalities to some of these pests, like cicadas, I guess. They're only every so many decades. But there are certain pests that are every year, very consistent. You must net your plants if you want pest-free vegetables. And then sharing, which the last part was making money on these things. Now we're just giving it away. If you are growing in abundance and because you love to, then now you have enough to share. And a lot of people like to make stuff to give away for Christmas. They make little jars or bottles and they put little ribbons on them and they give them away. Or helping out families in need. Somebody has a baby, somebody ends up in the hospital. Or you make extra food with what you brought in. You make extra meals for, again, people in need. Your parents are older and sickly. They need food that they can just pop in the microwave quick and easy. So these are just like extra ways to use your produce if you're growing a lot of it. And now it makes you feel good. So that's the therapeutic end of why you would garden and why it would be beneficial to you, not just because and without it making you any money. Because you see someone growing a vegetable doesn't mean you can't grow unless you go indoors where you can control the environment. Hi, G Mama. Thanks for being here. What else? Well, that's the end of my list, actually. So I went through that pretty quick. And I guess if I had if I thought of this topic sooner, I would have had more, stuff in between to say about it. But use your vegetable to make vegetable dumplings. Easy to make and store in freezers. There you go. Yep. Ow. My leg hurts from sitting in this position. Can I help you? Sit down. What was I going to say? So why do you garden? I garden because of all these things. It doesn't have to be just one. That a meal that'll last. So I do it because I have control of what I'm growing. I grow it so that I grow because there are lots of foods that I would eat more of if I had it right there and then versus having to find it at the supermarket. And then I grow to sell because I have excess seeds. Lots of us have so much seeds and I don't want those seeds to just get old. So if I'm growing and if I have the space, I'm going to grow it and share it, but try to offset my costs also. And mainly I grow it because I like to see things grow and to be outside and to have that hobby, to be out there, to have a purpose. Luckily, I have time to do it. Bee canning. I don't know what that means. I'm gardening for the love of growing my own food and so many different varieties to sow in different seasons. Right, because you learn. You also learn a lot. You learn so much. And really, you can apply what you've learned. Like if you look at how you grow food versus how you grow people, there's a lot of similarities. And that you can apply. And really, a lot more people should be applying how you grow food to how you grow people. But that's neither here nor there. So I grow, like this year was, for a lot of us, was a trying year, I'd say, for our gardens. And it was definitely like I had to cry about it, which I rarely ever do. Because the garden will test you. It will definitely test you. But at the end, when you cycle that, what is it? Get into the new year, new plans, new attitude. You say goodbye to that hurt feeling and you say to yourself, this time around, it's going to be better. I'm going to beat those critters and I'm going to win. And you'll win some and you'll lose some. Try to hold on to the wins. I know we like to hold on to the losses more than often than not. What do we got? Make dumplings, beets, canning jars, make up too much space. Oh, okay. Right. G Mama says, I've always said it's like raising someone. Yep. But we're doing it wrong, aren't we? Raising these kids. We need to be like, I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to raise kids the way we would raise plants. Like we can't always control how to feed them. Oh, nope. Take that back. Of course we can control how we feed them. We choose the easy route sometimes and we let them, feed the system, feed them or feed themselves. And it's nuanced. There's just so many parts to it. Anyway, gotta take 1,000 losses to get 1 win. There you go. Plans to be acting up to. Exactly. Can't take them to the dentist or the doctors. You gotta do all the snipping yourself. At least no one's coming after you if you yank them out of the ground. So this part I wanted to, and I just thought about this like a few minutes before I came on. I wanted to segue into next week's topic, which I'm hoping some of you will come up and be more of a back and forth situation. Because I want to talk about what I've been hearing and keep hearing is that we're going to have a type of food desert in 2025. I don't know why 2025 is the year, but it's always the year. But let's just say it's the year that we're going to have shortages and terrible food prices and no food at all. Let's see what conspiracies we can come up with so that we, just for fun, we'll prepare as we feel like, but just for fun of discussing it. I want to talk about next week, what's up with this food desert we're going to be encountering in 2025. So hit me up. I know Crash Out, you better be there. And anybody else who want to come up and chat, if it's more than one person, then I'll upload StreamYard and I'll use that since I still have that free service. I have so many plants and trees where now I can walk out and tell what's wrong. I've lost, sorry. Yes. You learn as you go. No shortage over my mini farm. Been preparing. That's right. You gotta grow your nuts, you gotta grow your berries, not just your veggies. You gotta grow fruits. You gotta have all that stuff. And there's a lot more, like, you can bring stuff inside. You can get citrus outside in the summer and bring it in and keep it alive long enough to get it back out in the winter. And that's not a bad way to go. Just add spring water. I need to practice going live. I'll try that. Oh, okay. That'd be awesome. Keep dry beans and dry root vegetables. Yes, that's easy enough. Dry beans. And stock up on canned goods even. Not too much. Don't go crazy. But, it doesn't hurt. Like, who said it the other day? The New Orleans gardener. She said, it's better to have it than not need it than the other way. So that is today's chat. I don't have much more to add for today. I'm sure when I get off the live, I'll be all like, I forgot to mention something. But I can mention it next week. That's the beauty of your own channel. You can do whatever you want. I need to do more dry beans. It's hard for me to save those seeds. I just need to grow more beans in general. Because I saved the beans because I didn't eat them. But I didn't have enough beans. So there wasn't much to be saved. But I did like a short, but in the summer. But don't forget that if you have a variety of beans, you can put them all together and have a bean mix. It doesn't have to be all just one kind of bean. That's kind of boring. So do bean mixes if you like that sort of thing. Rice and beans, yes. Have your staples. We'll talk about that. I gotta write that down. Staples. Have your staples. Rice and beans. Or whatever you feel is your staple. It doesn't have to be rice and beans. Lots of people like potatoes. They have dry potatoes. You can dry your own potatoes. Probably not that hard. And those ferments last a long time. Figure out how to, and you can start now. There's produce in the supermarket. There are organic supermarkets. You can get that stuff now, and put stuff up in your garage, in your basement, in your, I don't know, underneath your bed, wherever you can store it. It's available for you. But we will go back to that topic next week. Hopefully, everybody, myself mostly, will be here for that. But thank you for being here, everybody. I will chat with you next week. Till then, bye.